Hello and welcome to another Exeter Rider Live, where we have a special guest tonight, Jacqui Furneaux. Really looking forward to speaking to Jacqui, and I've got some of my friends along as well to help me out during the show. So I hope you're all doing well. So let's see if we've got any comment section here. Slow Rider, hello. Rev Bomb, hello, my friend. Hope you're doing well. We have 34 on already, and that's rising. So no doubt people will be coming in slowly along the way. Marcia Moto, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. Blake's Pipes up at 3 o'clock in the morning. Really? I should stay asleep, Blake, if I was you, my friend. Catch up another time. Flat Cap Cafe Racer, Paramedic Relic, on the road. On the road. Hello. Nice to have you along. Thanks. Hi, Ken. Right, without further ado, I'm going to bring some of the guys straight in. We have Epic Adam. How are you, Adam?
Yeah, I'm not bad, thank you.
Jolly good. Mr. Saddlebag 73.
Hello, my friends.
The channel's travel expert. You're going to win that one, Quinn. That's Quinn Peaks Rider up in Derbyshire. And we have Western Super Moto Vlog. Thanks for coming along, lads.
You're welcome.
I think we've all been looking forward to this one, haven't we?
We are much excited.
Good. That's brilliant. Are we all still out riding? Adam, that's like you, aren't you?
Commuting, yeah. My last decent ride was when I went and met up with you guys.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Down at the cafe, yeah.
In Saddle, you got your daily commute, haven't you?
Yeah, ride to work and back. It's not very far, but keeps me in the game.
Gets you in the bike, yeah. Weston, you got your Ducati now, so you're an all-weather rider. So are we nearly there now?
No, that's been well and truly tucked up in the garage since I went down in Motorvelo to see you.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, the weather's been shocking, and it's been so icy.
Yeah, it's not worth it, is it? It's just no fun, is it?
Yeah.
How about you, Quinn? You still out on the bike?
I know. You remember in September I went out, had a little off. I took most of my knee off. So after that, wife and family aren't too happy with me going out. So I decided to give it a rest, get some strength back. But I have actually put a deposit down on a new bike, which will be coming in the 1st of March, hopefully. So
are you going to tell us what it is, or is it going to be a little bit quiet at the moment? You don't have to say
I'll give you an exclusive. I'll do. Yes, a Himalayan 450.
Ooh.
So I put it down. I've just got to wait for a bit more money to come through. So after that's done, then it's a tick box. Then I need to find out how to tell the wife.
Yeah, we'll keep that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, don't tell her. Me and you, that's it, guys.
Yeah. No one's watching anyway. Don't worry. It's all the 45 people, so she won't be in there.
No, just me and you and a couple of friends.
Brilliant. Well, you're doing it. It's good to see you all. Thanks for coming along. Without further ado, let's bring in the star of our show. And I think we're going to do a round of applause today, if that's all right with you guys. And it's Miss Jacqui Furneaux. So thanks for coming along, Jacqui.
Oh, thank you ever so much. I feel really welcome. I'm sorry to hear about your knee, Quinn, but I'm very glad to hear that you're getting a new Royal Enfield.
I think it's a running joke with everyone. And Saddlebags name me Calamity Quinn, hence the little joke in Saddlebags in the corner. Calamity free for 3 days.
Oh.
Just don't move, Quinn, and everything will be fine. All right?
Yeah, it's part of the fun, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, absolutely. Jacqui, we've got so much to get through, haven't we? You got a great story, inspirational story as well. For all of us. I mean, the guys, most of us have got your book, or I've bought the audio version of your book as well. But it's been a great listen. It really has. Shall we go right back to the beginning? Where did it all start for you?
Well, motorbiking started a long time. You're probably far too young to remember the very hot summer of 1976. But that's when I started riding a motorbike. I had 2 small daughters in trying to keep cool in the plastic paddling pool in the back garden. My then husband came home from work to find me sort of languishing there. And it was so hot. It was a really hot, long summer. And so he said, look, why don't you have a whiz around the streets? We lived in Headley Park in Bristol, and it was a suburb outside Bristol. And he said, why don't you just take it for a spin around the streets? It'll cool you off. And I was a qualified nurse, and I'd been working in the casualty department at the BRI. And I'd seen people being scraped off the roads and brought in by the ambulance crews. And I thought, there's no way I'm getting on a motorbike. They're nasty, noisy, oily, dirty things, and very dangerous. I'm not doing that. But anyway, he persuaded me to just have a tootle around the streets. So I thought, okay, well, how do you make this thing work? So it was a Honda. We're not sure whether it was Honda 50, 75, a 70 or a 90. But anyway, it was a step through, and it was just twist the throttle to go and brake to stop. So I did that, and I went around the streets of Headley Park, and after about 40 minutes, that was it. I was hooked. And I've had a motorbike more or less ever since. So that's how it started.
And what was your first bike that you bought yourself?
From the Honda Step Through one, we bought a Honda 125. I took my test on that in Weston-super-Mare, because my then future brother-in-law was a motorcycle instructor, Dave Golliker. I don't know whether you know him or know of him, but he taught me to ride a bike. Every week I'd ride from Bristol down to Weston to have a lesson, and eventually passed my test. And then from a Honda 125, we went, because my husband was still riding as well then, to a Honda 200, very heavy bike. Didn't get on with that one. And then we bought a Honda 404, which I absolutely loved and wish I still had. Then I bought a Suzuki Slingshot 500E, GS 500E. And then I met this Dutchman in India, and he said, why don't you buy an Enfield like mine and we'll travel together? So that was how that came about. Otherwise, I wouldn't have known what an Enfield was.
No. And it is life-changing, isn't it? Once you get that bug of getting a bike.
Oh,
I mean, it's absolutely changed your life, no doubt. And it's changed all of our lives, isn't it? For the better.
Oh,
and that's why
undoubtedly.
we're here now, so.
Undoubtedly, yes. Well, that bike in particular has. Little did I know when I bought it for my 50th birthday all those years ago that, it would take me around the world. I thought, well, this little jaunt might last 6 months or so with this Dutchman. He was very much younger than I was. And I thought, well, he's going to get fed up with me before long, and I'll go back and be a normal. By this time, my children had grown up, and they were at university. And so I was a pretty free agent.
Yeah.
So yes, left my husband and everything for a Dutchman on a motorbike.
Yeah. It still must have been very difficult, though, wasn't it? Leaving the kids behind. It's not an easy decision, that, even when they're always your kids, aren't they?
Well, they are, but I left very much with my tail between my legs because, I'd had an affair which broke up the marriage, and so it was just a matter of I was doing everybody a favour by leaving, I think. So, but yes, all is well now. And soon was.
Absolutely, yeah. So how did you, without going into too much, how did you meet the Dutch guy? What was he called again? Remind me of his name.
He's called Hendrikus in the book.
That's the one. Yeah.
And I was backpacking. I hadn't dreamt about combining my love for travel with my love for motorcycling. I hadn't dreamt of combining them, and then I was backpacking in India, and I stopped to have a meal in a restaurant, and he just rolled up on this funny looking bike, and I thought, whatever's that thing? And so got into conversation with him, and that's how it ended up that we spent 4 days in the Thar Desert, which is in between India and Pakistan. It is in Rajasthan. And then, as you do when you're traveling, you meet people, but you can't stay with everyone you meet. And so we parted company. I didn't think I'd ever see him again. But after a year, he turned up on my mother's doorstep in Bristol, and that was it.
Yeah. I've remembered that part about your book actually when he turned up on your mum's doorstep. So, yeah, it's a fantastic book that you've written there as well. I guess
thank you
at the
very
time
much.
you never went out to write that book, did you? It was just a
No.
diary of your journey, really.
It very much is. 16 diaries I wrote because I thought when I get really old and I perhaps want to reminisce, somebody can read my diaries to me. And I wanted to record all the funny things that happened to me and all the amazing things that happened to me. So, yeah, that's how the book got written. People kept saying, because I started doing talks. And so people said, oh, you should write a book. And I thought, well, they're just being kind, really. And then I started writing the odd magazine article, and people said, oh, why don't you write a book? So eventually I did. After 7 years, I thought, I'll write a book then.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Yeah, it's amazing. It's an amazing story. So do you think, I mean, we have to remember that this was the late 90s, early 2000s, this was, wasn't it?
Well, yes. I bought the bike in March 2000 in Chennai.
Yeah, and back then things were a lot different, weren't they? There was no, was there sat nav? Not really, was there? Not
No,
No, I've seen the sat nav. It's the post-it note on the tank.
Yeah.
Yeah, sellotaped onto the tank.
Yeah.
No, there was no. I think emails had you could get an email address, but there was. I mean, the internet was in its very, very early days, and not many people had it, and certainly didn't have mobile phones. So it was rather freeing in a way, that you could just go and you had no responsibilities like, oh, I must make sure that everybody knows where I am, or I haven't texted so and so or sent a WhatsApp to so and so for ages. I ought to do that. So it was nice to be free in that way.
Yes.
I remember you saying, it must have been a bit later in the book, that you'd lost your mobile phone somewhere, and you were quite blasé about the matter. And I was thinking, well, nowadays, if I lost my phone, I'd be in a great panic. But you lost it without.
That was in Malaysia, and I'd stayed at a police station, slept on the desk overnight, and funnily enough, my phone was missing the next morning. But bear in mind that in those days, a phone was just a phone. It didn't have. Oh, you could text. I think you could text.
And you could play snakes, I think.
That's a snake. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
I think even like in the case, even with things like GPS, to give you an idea, I think even around 2006 in India, the GPS has actually been illegal. You couldn't actually have GPS.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, and so they didn't have any maps because of terrorism and a lot of other things. Even trying to buy a phone in India, you had to have a what do you call it? You had to be a citizen. Because again, terrorism, other things, similar thing to Spain, where you've got to show your passport and then you can have a SIM card. So it was a similar thing in India, and it's only in the last 5 or 10 years that things have really changed. That you can have GPS and it's navigable. So I think even about 2010, I think by that time when I tried to use the GPS then, which was on the phone, it was barely working. It was like on the basics maps. So it's only the last couple of years that things have really really changed. So it's even at that time, the difficulty of traveling or trying to do anything. Like I said, today it's so easy, but in that period up until about 2010, going in outside of Europe, it was always a challenge to do anything. And but that was half the fun. That's how you'd really get lost.
Well, exactly. That is my point exactly. And I still travel with maps and use road signs and ask people. I've been in India for 7 weeks this last summer, and I was traveling with somebody else who was very much into sat nav, and I said, spoils it for me. Can't we just look at a map, find out the names of the towns, head for those towns, and then if we get lost, enjoy getting lost? So we did a bit of both. But it was much nicer. Just stopping and asking people is half the fun, and getting lost, and you end up in interesting places. Now, I don't use sat-nav, but it's really useful, of course, for going through cities and towns. But I make myself quite unpopular, I think, with a lot of the people I travel with because I don't use it.
Funny picking hotels as well sometimes, Jacqui.
I don't use
Kept on-
booking.com either.
No.
Oh no, I just end up somewhere and think, oh, where's a nice place to stay, or the cheapest place to stay it was in those days when back in 2000. I had no idea how much money I had to spare. I didn't know how long I was going to be away for, so I had to budget. And
You end up in a brothel in
cheap
Syria.
hotels. Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. Yeah, not for the first time either, was it?
No.
Bad luck.
No, the Hotel Bristol in oh gosh, where was that? Costa Rica? No, it was San Jose. I remember it was San Jose. Yeah, turned up.
It's all part of it, though, isn't it? All part of the adventure.
Oh, it's all part of the fun. Yes.
Yeah. Did you do a lot of camping as well? Out in the wild?
Not in India because it's so cheap. Hotels at that time was something like 50 pence a night for a cheap one, and you're never on your own, or very rarely on your own in India to just pull up at the side of the road and put a tent up. You'd have crowds around you in no time. So no, it wasn't worth camping then. But I did a fair share of just sort of pulling in at the side of the road and finding a place to stay in other countries. That's my favourite way.
Yeah. And what countries did you visit? Remind us of that as well.
During that 7-year trip.
Yeah.
Right. Are you ready? India, Nepal, Pakistan, Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, Australia, New Zealand, Ecuador, Colombia, Panama, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Honduras, Guatemala, Mexico, United States, and Canada.
Wow.
Wow.
I went to the Isles of Scilly.
A lot more since then. Been all over Europe since I came back. I think I last count was about 30 countries.
Yeah.
Wow.
You've been
And
out of Devon this year, Adam.
Right in the mid-Devon.
Devonshire.
I was saying to Jacqui earlier, I got to Exmouth this year. That's about as far as I went. Really.
Excellent. It really doesn't matter where you go, does it? Because it's just an adventure wherever you go. If you have a mind to make it into an adventure, go a different way, or stop and talk to somebody or something.
Yeah. For me,
Thank
what
you.
I really enjoy, and I've done a lot of it this year, is I've had my young lad. He's 14 now. He on the back as well. And we had a Royal Enfield Meteor for 3 months, I think I had it for. And just the journeys that we've done on that, found places that I'd never been before, just on my doorstep.
Yes.
You know, and it's just amazing how much is around once you really have a slower bike, I would say, to be able to get to these places. It's been wonderful.
Did you like the Meteor?
I really did. Yeah, I like the J series engine. I loved everything about it. Yeah,
It is
it's
good,
really,
isn't
really
it?
nice. Yeah.
But then I'm a bit of a Royal Enfield fanatic, so I'm bound to be a bit biased.
Not wrong with
Well,
that.
just to put you in the picture, most of these guys have got Royal Enfields, apart from me and Phil. Yeah,
Right.
so if I can work
And
this
my
out.
daughter's getting a Meteor in the summer when she passes the test. She's got her heart set on a yellow Meteor.
Oh, they're lovely, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're lovely, the yellow ones. Yeah.
So Saddlebags has this one. That's his Royal Enfield classic.
That's beautiful.
Really is.
How old is that?
2019, that one was.
Is it? Oh, is it beautiful? Yeah.
That was another YouTuber there, the all-year motorcyclist. Adam's got a Himalayan, and Quinn's got a classic 500, and soon to have a Himalayan.
Yes, I heard you say. Yeah, lovely. Really lovely bike.
Yeah, it's like I've got a Transalp as well, and it's interesting even just going through, just seeing the difference, because as soon as we've been on the Alp, it's always rush, and having something that's not as just a couple of cc less, and something's a bit more relaxed, it just lets you enjoy it. And I think that's one of the things that I really like going on my classic 500. It's as soon as you go out, you're just slowing down, taking that, and you can enjoy yourself more, and that's the adventure. You're not getting to It's not the adventure. It's that slowing down and actually going around and seeing how many ice creams you can get in.
Good plan. Very good plan.
Yeah, but you do see more on a slower bike. I don't think you can argue that. You take it in a bit more.
Yes, exactly. Well, that's why it took me 7 years to get back to Bristol, because I was stopping and looking at things along the way.
Yeah, and a
No,
lot
I
of these countries that you went through, are
Mm.
they countries that you were passing through, or did you actually want to go to them? If that makes sense.
Well, my ex-husband gave me a little atlas just before I left, a tiny little thing about 2 inches across, 2 inches square. And I navigated with that, really, because there was a time when I thought I would just leave the bike and come home and be normal after Hendrikus. I don't want to spoil the story for everybody, but Hendrikus and I did split up. And so I thought, well, I can't manage this bike on my own. So I thought I was going to leave it. But by that time, I had got ridiculously fond of it. I didn't like it to start with because of it, you needed to care for it. And before that, I'd always had the Japanese bikes that I would take to a mechanic every spring and say, can you prepare this for the summer, please? And so the Enfield, I didn't even know, as I say in the book, I didn't even know you had to change the oil. I was so ridiculously uninformed about bike care. So that was a revelation, and he did teach me that yes, you do need to look after these things. It's an old design. It's an ever evolving 1940s design of a single cylinder 4-stroke. So yeah, it does need a bit of nursing and care.
Yeah.
So I got to love it to a ridiculous extent, whereas now I'm just so passionate about it. It's just a wonderful bike, but I've got to look for past other bikes now, another bike, because it's a kickstart, and I hurt my back rather badly the year before last, and so I have got to go for an electric start.
Yeah, yeah. Which you've got another Royal Enfield now, haven't you?
I'm going to be having the new Bullet 350.
Yeah.
Nice.
Right. Yeah, I've got some pictures of that somewhere. Are you like me showing the photos, Jacqui?
Yes, of course.
Have you got that already? Haven't you, the Bullet, or no?
It's a waiting collection. I'm waiting for Rob at Banwell to finish my bike.
No, that's not it.
Yeah, that's not my old. That's the new bike.
Yeah.
That's Gordon May I'm with there, and this is in India, and that he borrowed a Himalayan 450 just off the production line, and I've got the Bullet, which I shall be having one like that. For the crash
lovely.
bike. I wanted one as close as I could possibly get to mine. That's mine.
Yeah, that's the 500.
Yes.
And whereabouts was that?
That was in Italy. There was the Royal Enfield Owners Club International Rally in Greece last year. And so Bob Murdoch, who's the chairman of the Royal Enfield Owners Club, who happens to live in Nailsea, we decided we'd ride down to Greece together. And so he went on his Airflow, and I went on my Bullet. And it all went very well.
That one there.
That's it. We were just leaving. We were just leaving. All tents and all loaded up. That's my lovely bike.
Has that got more difficult moving around now, do you think? Or
moving around countries?
Countries, yeah.
No, we didn't have any trouble at all. No,
right.
Not at all. In fact, on the way back, I travelled back on my own because Bob wanted to get home. He's got a wife and dog, and I had no responsibilities to come back to. So I took my time, and I rode from Slovenia into Italy and didn't even know I'd crossed a border. So it really is no problem at all.
Oh, that's good. Got a question here from somebody. Did you have any scary or dangerous experiences when you were abroad? Loads.
Well, I don't want to spoil the book for people who have bought it and haven't read it yet. But yes, but let's say but on 2 occasions, and I'm stupid enough to have made the same mistake twice, they were nothing to do with the bike. They were because I adopted another means of transport.
Yeah.
Shall we say on the water?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we all know what it is, and yeah, don't say
I
any
don't want
more
to
than
spoil
that.
the story for people who might buy the book who don't know. But yes, no more sailing, no more putting the bike on boats for me.
Now, while we're on that, your book is only $9.99, isn't it, on
It
Amazon?
is, yes.
Yeah, I'll leave a link in the thing at the end.
They'll charge you for postage, or if you want to buy a signed copy, I will send you one. If you go to my website, which is JacqiFurneaux.com, and send me a request, I will send you a copy signed. If you want it signed, it's not compulsory. And then yeah.
Yeah, it makes it a bit more special then.
I was going to ask you actually, because I think I've got a little note that was in the book. Is that actually handwritten by yourself?
Yes.
Oh, that's so cute.
I'll put a little note in. I put Happy 2024 in the last batch I sent to Amazon, because obviously I send them to Amazon. And if I've got time, every now and again I'll put a little note inside each one.
Nice touch.
Oh, you've got one as well.
Yeah, Happy 2024.
Yeah. It's
funny enough, I bought one, but there's a problem at Amazon, so I never received it, which is why I got the audiobook in the end. So
really?
yeah, but it's very rare that happens with Amazon, isn't it? So yeah, they just can't remember what they said now, but yeah, something happened and said there was going to be a delay. Never mind, I got the audiobook, and the audiobook is as good. And it was great when I was painting the ceiling. So
oh right, because if you obviously you don't get the photographs with that, but if you look on Instagram, way back I put all the photographs that are in the book, I put on Instagram with the explanation of what they are. So Instagram is Jacqui.Furneaux.
But also, it's that if you can't see on the phone because I've got the screen on. But so if you do want it on Audible, just with your membership, it's only $7.99. So they've got a promotion running at the moment. So you do get it for quite a good price. And I always like to hear the author's voice. I mean, I've got so many books on Audible. And it's always really, really interesting to hear the story from the author's own voice. And so you're putting your own stresses, and you can also then hear a lot of your emotions in the voice itself. So when something's pretty loving, you can see how excited. And the other parts, it's really difficult.
Oh, I've gone and done a stupid thing again. Done the same thing again.
Well, I can kind of pick up the emotions through reading it. Actually, it's so well written.
Thank you ever so much.
Without going into too much detail, you can see the colours, you can smell the aromas, you can taste the deep fried cockroach.
I could feel the leeches.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the leech bit. Oh, God, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. What an adventure, eh?
Oh well, thank you ever so much for your kind comments. I'm really, really grateful. It's lovely to have lovely feedback.
It was actually
quite early on in the book, but when you were traveling through some of the remote countries, did you have to worry about something called a Carnet? Because I just followed somebody else's video now who's traveling from Australia to the UK, and there are certain countries that he needs one for, and it's like thousands of pounds from what I can gather just to get one for that one country.
It is. They are a pain, but when I was traveling, and bear in mind that's quite a while ago now, in some countries you didn't need them. But now, like Australia, if I was to take, I shipped my old Enfield out to Australia in 2018-19, and whereas I hadn't needed a Carnet to get in there before from Indonesia, I had to have one this time. So everybody's tightening up everything at the moment. It's devil's own job. I don't know now. Going through Central America and South America, I don't think you need one. I think you just turn. A lot of the time, I just turned up at the border and said, "I'd like to come across, please." And they make you buy insurance, and they probably do a bit of jiggery pokery with the fee. But the Carnet is expensive, because what you're doing is you're promising that you won't sell the bike whilst you're there, and it won't be worth your while to sell it, because if you don't go back with the bike, you will lose your deposit, That's the whole point of it. So that's why it's so expensive. So having a cheap bike is a blessing. And my bike cost me £1,000 new. And of course, it depreciated as I went. And so I valued it at less and less and less. And so my Carnet, by the time I needed one to go from India into Pakistan, was very cheap through the Dutch AA. The last time I needed a Carnet, I got it through the Swiss AA. And it was very straightforward.
Right.
But it's different depending on the country you get it from. So it's, you go to certain countries and you'll get it cheaper than you would in other places. But Carnet is normally Africa. You're going to need it almost everywhere. And then lots of Asia. So it's one of the things that some people have been doing. There's one person I know, and what he's done, he got as far as India. Then from there, he left his bike there, went to I think he flew over to Thailand, just bought a bike, rented a bike there for a couple of weeks, did his trip, gave it back, went to the next country, rented the next one. And he said by the time he would actually pay for the Carnet, it was cheaper to put in all these rents and just try different bikes.
Was it really? Gosh.
Because I think it was quite a big bike. And I think from what I can remember, the country that it came from, they wanted 3 times the value of the bike or 2 times.
Yes.
I can't remember the exact details. So if you've got a 15 grand bike, suddenly you want 30 grand just for your Carnet.
I know.
And that's gone.
Yeah, it is prohibitive, isn't it?
Yeah.
I wonder what that's going to be like in years to come, whether things are going to get more tightened up and more difficult, and electric bikes coming in and trying to phase out the petrol bikes. There's only so much you can do on an electric bike, isn't there, traveling? So, it's a bit of a worrying time, really.
There's one guy called Mark. He's from Germany. Mark travels, and he's in India at the moment. So he's got an electric bike, and he's taken it as far as India. So, and gone through Iran, gone through Pakistan. I think it was this week's video release. He came into India. So he's in India. He's on Amritsar in the last episode that came out. So and he's with them there with an electric bike. So I think it's fascinating just to go and see all the small changes to do, because he's got to keep stopping in places, and those stops, he's going around meeting people, having different types of challenges. So I think it's not just going to be the Carnet part that's going to be a challenge. I think also then now the charging, because in a lot of places where he stopped in Pakistan, like especially in coming over the border from Iran going into Pakistan, into Balochistan, in that region it's all desert, and so there's a lot of places where he stopped, there's no electricity. So he's at someone's house and he's just like trying to plug it in. Oh, they don't have enough voltage, we can't charge it. Goes to a petrol station, plugging it in there, taking 2 sockets from it. He's trying to do all sorts, but it's half the fun. I think it's a different type of challenge, and that'll be interesting to see how it comes in the future.
Yeah, but they do take up a lot of charging as well. That Mike Travels, the bike that he's got, it pulls a lot of electricity. Same as a small cooker, 16, 17 amps. So it is hard to find a generator that would do that if you find that you haven't got electric in normal electric or off grid.
Because he stopped at, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, he stopped at some petrol stations. He's trying to plug it in, nothing's working. He was going up to people's houses saying, "Can I charge my car, charge my bike?" Well, you've got the police there, the escort that they get, just trying to say, "Oh no, hurry up!" He's like, "I can't go anywhere. There's no fuel." They're trying to put petrol in it, trying to open it up, where it's a fuel. So I think it's also then changing the understanding of people that you go into and what they're seeing as well, and having a shift for them. Well, these things actually exist. And so, because they see electric tuk-tuks now, I was in India last year, and even for the couple of weeks that I was there, it's really interesting to see, even within 1 year, just going from a couple of electric tuk-tuks, it's really, really grown massive. So they're going, and now they're a lot smaller. We get through places. So I think there's an electric shift going on everywhere. But for bikes, in India, I think there's been quite a few releases here. So I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah, and the people that you meet along the way is what really makes the traveling, I guess, is it? That's a lot of it.
Oh, definitely.
Because you met a lot of people that just, it doesn't happen in the UK, does it? But people would sort of say, "Oh, come stay with us, have dinner with us," and
No, this is what's so sad, really, because every time I was taken into somebody's home or somebody would pay for my meal, I'd think, well, would this happen if this person was in my country? I don't think so. Excuse me.
In Australia as well, wasn't it? I think you're saying one of the things that really stuck out for me was when you had an issue in certain countries, in a lot of it, people were there straight away. And then I think you mentioned it was Australia, where you had one breakdown, and you were saying
That's
that
right. Standing at the side of the road with my front wheel, and they were frightened
or something.
They frightened to give me a lift to the nearest town, which was only about 5 kilometres away or something. But they said, "Oh, we're not. We're all a bit worried in case you savage us." And there I was, with my front wheels hitching at the side of the road. Yeah. No, things are a bit sad.
It is sad, isn't it? It is really sad that it's come to that.
But it's not like that in other countries. I mean, India is a particular favourite of mine, and they can't wait to help you.
Why do you think that is? Are they just?
I can tell you that.
Go on, then.
I think it's a couple of things. First, it's a good story for them. Oh, you never guess what happened to me. But also, it's a different mindset from the beginning. I think if you see the Western world generally as I need to get on with my life, but in the Asian mindset in general, it tends to be we need to get on with our lives. So it's that shift from that community thinking that we have to get excited. I mean, if you go to a lot of Asia, there tends to be quite nationalistic sort of weird, but you don't say anything nasty against the president or prime minister, but you come here because in Europe, oh, Sunak's done this, oh, we should go jump off a cliff. I mean, and no one would bat an eyelid. But if you're in India and say something like that, it'd be taken much more personally. So there's also like a different hierarchy, and there's like one of this is a phrase in Hindi, and it's called Aditya Deva Bhava. So the guest is God, and it's and so it's. If you look at there's a hierarchy, and said the most important person in your life is first of all your mother, then it's your father, then it's your teacher, and then it's your guest, and then your God. Then God comes afterwards.
Really?
Yeah. And so it's that and so it's a different type of mindset. It's a different way of seeing the world, and it's also a different way of going in. That's why when a lot of people, like there was something I was watching a couple of weeks ago, there was a German couple that were traveling through the van going through India, and they couldn't understand. I think Jacqui, you probably relate to this. Suddenly, wherever they stop, loads of people will show up, come out of nowhere. And they were like, can't these people get out of our face? They were getting quite irate. And the thing that I wrote in my comment was, just keep in mind that India's got almost double the population of Europe with a third of the size, in third of landmass. And the thing is that whenever you go to anywhere, for people, they're genuinely curious, because for them, you're something that they're going to see in a magazine or a book, and now you're actually there in person, and so they're genuinely curious. What do they do? What do English people do? Do they eat real food? I've seen it on the TV, and they're eating out of packets. Do they eat plastic? It's like almost having ET land on your door, and it's like, God, what's this ET? What's it going to do? So it's that as soon as you start speaking to them, they see the person in you, and then at that point, they want to do something to help, want to do something like that. It's also that part, going back to that mental part, that they don't want to have any complaints come. If a guest comes to your house, like if someone were to come home and they wanted a beer or they wanted a certain brand, I'd rush out and get whatever they wanted, because that's what they want. And I would never think, it would never enter my mind, well, this is what I got, take it or leave it. It's like, I had an uncle come a couple of weeks ago and he wanted Bud. I said, yeah, get your Budweiser, no problem. Went out, rush out, got him a case of Bud. Here you go, knock yourself out.
Right.
I got to say from experience, even though Quinn lives over here now, he's still got that attitude, because I sort of landed on his doorstep once just to say hello to him because of the conversations we'd had online. and I was just made to feel like an absolute king. It was amazing, and yeah, it was like, do you want a coffee? Well, yeah, I'll have a coffee if you've got a coffee. And it wasn't just, I'll make a coffee. I'll go out and I'll get the best coffee. We'll make the best coffee, and it was fantastic.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's nice, Quinn.
We'll have to have a visit sometime, Quinn. Sounds okay.
You're always welcome. Sorry, it's Jackie, it's your show. I'm yapping away. I mean,
No,
that's
I
lovely.
never get invited.
It's really
Right.
nice to hear your side of things, and for you to explain things that I didn't see or didn't know about.
Yeah.
I didn't
Go
know
through
that
some-
order of mother, father, teacher, who
Guest.
came after teacher, guest, and then God. Yes.
Yeah. And it's not just the thing is that what we say Hinduism is the name given by the West to the well, it's in the same way that Germans don't call themselves German. They like you go to Spain, they call them Aliman, and so it's the way that you'd call yourself in original Sanatan Dharma. So it's the isms, Buddhism, Sikhism, or all names given by outside. So the thing is, all of these ways, it's a way of thinking. It's not so much a spiritual belief; it's more of like an ethic. And so it's that's why it's always interesting for me when I'm reading so many things. I think one of my favorites is Sam Mannequin's book because he spent like quite a long time there. And even when he's there, it's always interesting to go and see them, the details they're going into, how they perceive things. So that's why I go to India almost practically every year. So I've got to go see family and spend my time there. So the thing is, it's always interesting to see things from the other side, how the travelers that are going through are seeing these kind of places. And also then when you're in South America, I lived in South America for the best part of 7 years. I'm an honorary Chilean, so I'm saying the Chilean of the Corazon. And so it's even when you're there in going through your parts in South America, it's really interesting to see how you see things compared to how someone who's lived there for a long time. Like I said, I was in Chile just a couple of months ago, so it's. Okay, they can't see that, but how the traveller sees things compared to how the local perceives you. So the way things that you see as kindness, or the things that you can see, oh, this person's acting kind of strange, and then when you see it from the other side, it gives you context to why they were acting that way. So it's always a fascinating thing. But I'm shutting up because I keep doing this.
That's all right. I'm going to say, yeah. You see why Quinn's here, can't you, Jacqui?
Yeah,
He knows
fascinating
his stuff.
stuff. Really
Yeah.
fascinating.
Yeah.
It's all about
What I'll do now is I'll put up some questions now, Jacqui, if I may. I really enjoyed Jackie's book. It's Craiglin. Is that how you say it, Jeff? Saddle?
Craiglin, yeah.
Craiglin, yeah. I really enjoyed Jackie's book, and it's partly was responsible for getting my bullet. He's got a bullet 500. If she was to do the trip again, would she have gone for a simpler style of bike or choose something larger with more complex offerings?
No. No, I would not in hindsight. I wouldn't have any other bike because it goes everywhere. It went everywhere. It went up, as you know, if you've read the book, it goes up little goat tracks in Pakistan. It was in first gear, second gear all day, and it would pull at a very steep gradient, and it picks up its skirts and go. I was in Germany on an autobahn by accident many years later, and it does everything I've ever asked it to do. So no,
very comfortable as well, Jacqui. Would you say?
Very comfortable. Yeah, I never had sore bottom or sore back or anything. No, I could stay on it all day. And have done many a time. I've slept on it as well. So no, there's no bike like it for me.
Yeah, and that's much the same as you, Saddle, isn't it? You love your classic 5, don't you? Oh, and Quinn,
absolutely,
as well, don't you?
Absolutely, yeah.
I think it's even more. There's a video that I did with Lone Wally, and he had his granddad's old bullet, and I had my classic 500. So we actually went out for a day with both bikes, and we were doing a comparison. okay, I bodged up the audio. All you could hear were the cars going past. So we've got to film part of it again, waiting to get them free. But it's really, really interesting to see that between both bikes, there wasn't that much of a difference. They were just so similar. And so some people were saying, well, it's not the same thing. There's been so many evolutions. So his was a carbureted bike, and mine was one with the ABS, and it's the fuel injection.
Yeah.
The one I've got was one of the last ones they made. So it was just to see the difference. And when we even had a little ride, like I said, we were riding exactly the same. There wasn't really much difference. There's a slight difference in the acceleration and things like that, in the kick. Mine's, I think, kicked a bit more, but it was the old Bullet Road. And you could jump on both bikes and you wouldn't see too much of a difference. So that's incredible that you can have a riding experience from the 1930s, 1940s period today.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think that's the part that's special. And if you want to know what your granddads felt like when they're riding this, you can actually have that. But this is the only bike you can do it on.
It is special.
I absolutely find that. I mean, first of all, I consider the 500 classics as enchanting. That's what I call those bikes, because they really are. But they literally, I mean, I only had 2-3 hours on one, but it literally took me back in time. I honestly felt like I was in the 1950s. Everything was simpler, and it was just a wonderful ride, one that I'll never ever forget. Do you get that on the 350 though? I'm not sure I do.
Yeah. Well, I was surprised because, as I said, I was lucky enough to borrow the new Bullet 350 in India recently, and I thought, oh, it's not going to be as nice as my bike. Oh, it's not going to perform as well, and it's only 350 instead of a 500, and I was absolutely bowled over with it, much as you are with your Meteor. I can't fault it. The only thing is it hasn't got a neutral finder, and of course it hasn't got a kickstart. But then that's an advantage for me now. So I'm thrilled to bits with it. But I do miss my old bike. But I don't know that I'm going to miss the maintenance.
Maintenance, yeah. They do take some looking after, don't they? I think was it your 500 where you changed the oil and they stripped the thread on the oil plug?
Oh gosh, right? Yes, I did that on Hendrikas's bike. I thought I'll be helpful, and yes, I tightened.
Now, do you know what? You're not the only one, because that happened to Economical Rides, which is another friend of ours.
Oh, really?
He lives in Spain, and he done exactly the same thing on his classic 500. And he had, to be fair, he had nothing but trouble with it, did he? Always.
But it's actually the dealer that did it as well. So they took it to the dealer for the last service in his warranty. I'll get it done by them, and they came along and they did it. So see, I think it was just after out of warranty, because I'll take it to them so it's done properly, and they're the ones who did it. They bodged it. He only found out after the warranty had finished when he went to go and opened it, and the whole thing's gone. They wouldn't accept any responsibility.
Oh, that's naughty, isn't it?
Yeah.
He was glad to get rid of this, I think, is the truth of it. Yeah. Adam, would you ever want to do any big trips? That's up your street, isn't it?
Yeah,
kids are older and.
Yeah, when the kids are older. That's why it's nice reading Jacqui's story, because her kids grew up and she went and had an adventure. I've got a 5-year-old. He turned 5 the other day.
All right. Yes. How lovely.
They really want to leave him for a long period of time.
No.
No. Maybe when he's 16, 17. I think that's kind of.
It does get easier.
Yeah.
12.
Well,
12, yeah.
Well, I was very optimistic because my granddaughter suddenly decided that she liked being pillion, and I was envisaging all sorts of lovely trips with her, camping trips in France or something. But then she started doing A-levels at school and got a boyfriend, and so I'm afraid that's gone by the by.
Oh, what a shame. Yeah.
But that would be nice.
I don't want to wait too long, because you don't know what's going to be like in 10 years' time in the world. So
no, the time will present itself, and you will know.
Yeah.
Excellent. Go on, Quinn. You going to say something?
I was going to say, even with the kids, I think that's one of the things that was really interesting for me. because it's that leaving a kid. It's always one of the worries. But I think your situation was unique. But I think it's for me and Adam, we're in a sort of similar boat. I've got a 4-year-old, but I've also got a 13 and a 16-year-old. And so it's for me, one of the things was I was thinking first, yeah, she's 16. In a year or two, I can get free. I can do this. I can do that. And the 4-year-old, she was like, no, how am I going to do it? We scuppered. But even like last year, when I went to Chile for about 3 weeks, I was worried really before that trip. It's like, okay, what they're going to do if they want this, want that. But it was actually having, just for Adam as well, but it was having WhatsApp. So she just quite a few times, oh, I've lost this book. I need this thing for school tomorrow. So even when I was out there, I've got the WhatsApp, went onto Amazon, ordered it on. Okay, it's been ordered and it'll be there tomorrow.
You can do that, can't you, these days?
Yeah, and I think that's one of the advantages. Use the modern technology, so you can actually go out and do these trips. But I think, Adam, it's I don't know. What do you think, Jacqui? That the best time to do anything is now. There's if you've got something, do it now, because there's always going to be excuses for not doing stuff.
It's true.
But if you've got 4 and 5-year-olds, it's I don't know. Mine were gone to university, so it was all right. I felt I could go.
Well, I think also for me is that I live in an extended family, so I live with my dad, live with my sister. I've got uncles and aunts, everyone in the same house, and so in the house I've got everyone there. And even one of the reasons for going for that last trip is my mum's. I've got adopted mum, so it's my adopted mum's 70th birthday. So I went for a birthday call. I've not seen her in a good 10 years, and so I was like, oh, I just want to see my mum.
Yeah, the best time is 10 years ago. If you didn't do it then do it now. But at the same time, like I say, when you've got responsibilities, young kids, and everything else like that, mortgages and things like that, it is very difficult, isn't it? So yeah, like you say, Jacqui, you just got to find the time.
You don't have to go away for 7 years.
No. Well, that's the plan to have some shorter trips to build up till a big trip, hopefully.
Even for Matlock Biker, he's saying he's 71. He's been riding for 55 years and he's still going. So if you think you guys give us hope, Jacqui.
Good. Well, I'm knocking on a bit now and just about to take possession of a new bike. So there we go.
Yeah, that's good. Good news. Right, let's get on to the next question.
Yep.
If I can work this silly thing. There you go. Right, next question. My question: how do you decide what to pack? Asked Lily Northover.
Oh, far less than you think you'll need. When I first started traveling, I took a ridiculous amount of stuff. I think I took something like 15 pairs of knickers. But of course, everywhere you go, people need the same things you do, and you can buy everything you need, especially in places like India. And it's all very reasonably available. So it depends where you're going. I knew I was going to somewhere hot to start with, and so I didn't take jumpers. But as I stayed longer and it got colder, you can buy jumpers in India and Pakistan and everywhere you go. So clothing wise, you don't really need very much. I certainly didn't change my clothes all that often. T-shirt and jeans, sturdy jeans, sturdy boots, long sleeve T-shirt and gloves, and all your safety gear that you like. Take that with you. I bought a helmet in India last time I was there, and it's a perfectly lovely helmet that I didn't want to take mine. It depends on what bike you've got. I didn't take much in the way of spare parts, but of course I started off in India where you can get Royal Enfield spare parts on every street corner.
Yeah.
But then as I went around the world, or the countries I went to, a single cylinder 4-stroke is anyone can mend it anywhere. Anyone that calls themselves a mechanic can have a go, and I learned to do certain things. So some decent tools, and what else? Very, very little really, because you can buy everything you need wherever you go, especially these days. With
while you're on that, it's amazing what you can do when you absolutely have to do it. You found yourself at times not having not having the parts, not being able to get the parts, and you found somebody who could make the parts, didn't you?
Oh,
and you sorted it out
frequently.
yourself. So, you know, it's amazing what you can learn along the way when you have
Yes.
to.
Yes, but I think she was probably asking more in the way of personal stuff.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But it depends on the bike. I mean, this new bike, this with this J series engine, I have no idea how it works, and I have no idea what tools I'll need, if any. I'm told it's all electronic and it won't go wrong. But
yeah,
really?
Very reliable as far as I know. Yeah.
Right. So that's
Next
going to be
question.
very different. Yes, go on.
Next question's from Splodge. How many punches and were they easy to repair?
Oh.
Why the 500 bullet?
Bane of my life. That's the trouble. If you go off road quite a bit, you do have some accidents with tires. And yes, I had many punctures, and I absolutely hate and detest them. But it's part of traveling. I had a bike with an inner tube, so I carried 2 spare inner tubes with me everywhere I went, and sometimes roadside repairs done myself. But more often than not, I would just take the wheel out and get it to a garage somewhere, or hitch a lift.
Right.
But not difficult in Australia. But I managed somehow. But I hate them.
Yeah.
How many? I don't know. I haven't counted how many. The worst one was in India, and it was something like 40 degrees at the side of the road with no shade. And that had to be fixed. But luckily, I carried a compressor at the time, so that made it a little bit easier.
Yeah, excellent. Dead Assassin, hi Exeter Rider and Jacqui Furneaux. Did you have a home when you left for travelling and came back in 7 years?
No.
Did you have a home to go to? No.
No.
Yeah, that's the same.
I didn't.
No.
So there was nothing to worry about at all.
Yeah, and Peaky Biker says, how did you resource for servicing your bike over that time? Same thing, just found a garage or done it yourself, didn't you?
Well, I learned to do quite a bit, and I would study the manuals. When at bedtime, instead of reading a book, I would study the service manuals and the owner's manuals, and work out how things worked. And over 7 years, I learnt quite a bit of things to do, although never had to delve into the engine.
Right. Yeah. And it's fair to say that you started to enjoy doing the maintenance as well, didn't you? At the end.
Yeah.
It's right. Satisfying, isn't it?
It is. When you think, oh, I've got this problem, like a cable, a snapping cable or something, and I always carry a set of spare cables, and it's rather satisfying when you fit a new cable and you ride off again, and you haven't had to ask for help, and it's really nice. Or a bit of sellotape will keep the carburetor on. The carburetor fell off once or twice because the manifolds weren't right. So, or I lost a Jubilee clip or something along the way. And sellotape and cable ties. You can do all sorts of things with those with a single cylinder 4-stroke.
Yeah.
I think that's the nice thing when you end up with a bike and it's had that changes. I mean, if you look at, I saw Sam Manican's bike going back there, even with Austin Vince's, and Nathan's as well. It's really interesting to go and see, and you can see their story put out throughout their bike.
Yes.
So when you go and see, oh God, that's where this happened. Oh, remember this happened. Oh, is this the well that you read?
There's that bit of string. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nathan's bike, Dorothy. I mean, that's such a lovely story. If anyone hasn't read Nathan Millwood's book, I would definitely suggest that you have a go with that one. It's a lovely book and a very heartwarming story. And talking of audiobooks, I'm currently reading Peggy Iris Thomas's book Gasoline Gypsy, and I'm doing an audio book of that. It won't be out for a while, but I'm reading that for somebody that's going to, Gordon May, who is going to get that out on Audible as soon as we can.
All right. I've never heard of her. Same similar story, or?
Well, she was a remarkable woman. In 1951, she decided to take her BSA Bantam over to the United States. I think she flew to Canada, and and then rode it down through America and Mexico. But not just that, she had a full-sized Airedale dog with her. So she built a little platform for him behind her on a little BSA banter. So this not a miniature Airedale, a full-sized one was on the back of this bike with her everywhere she went. And she's so matter-of-fact about it. It was like, well, it's quite the normal thing to do. So that's what I'm doing at the moment. So that's another lovely book. It's a really good.
And would you ever write another book yourself?
Yes, there might be another one on the way one of these days. I've done lots of trips since. I mean, nothing like that big 7-year one, but I've been to Morocco and all round Europe and back to Australia and India. So not with the same bike in India, but the same bike up until India.
Yeah, that was one thing I was always quite curious about, because going back to the same place, but during different times, was a massively different experience. And so, how did your second trip or your subsequent trips impact the way that you saw your journey during the first trip or the earlier trips?
Good question. Well, I've never gone back to exactly the same place, except this last time in Chennai when I picked up the 350, the Bullet 350 to ride it, but went a different way. You may know that Ted Simon, he replicated his trip on Jupiter's Travels, and he was so disappointed with everywhere. And I thought, I don't want to do that again. He did it many, many years later. And I thought, I don't want that to happen to me. So when I went back to Australia, I didn't go to Northern Territory or Queensland. I went to Melbourne and Tasmania instead to have a different experience. But India, funnily enough, hadn't changed a great deal, except it's very, very much more modern. No, it was just as charming and lovely as ever. I am an absolute India-phile.
It's interesting because it's like even between because I had 2 trips last year, and then I think it was about 3 years, and then it's a gap. So within that 3-year gap, 2019 and then 2023, almost 4 years, there was a big change for me, especially like in the little things like the roads. You know, came before there were a lot smaller roads, and now there's big motorways everywhere. Yes. Service stations are really, really big. They look like mansions on the side of the road. I thought someone's got a nice house, and we start pulling in. It's like, why are we pulling into someone's house for? You know, it's a service station, is it? Like 38. So it was like all these little things. I think in the past you'd have remember the roadside dabbas. You go and have the little. So that was the sort of thing that place I typically would have stopped in the past. Now nobody stops.
Sorry, what was it? Was it like a drive-through or something? Is that what you're on about?
Oh no, it's like
the truck stops, really.
Like a truck,
okay.
So you don't have service stations like you would here. You just have someone who's opened up a business on the side of the road, and as you're going along, you just sort of nip off the road and drive off into a yard, and then they've got shops and things like a little parade. And so you can walk in. And so the typical things like a little masala cha, so you get them about this big, probably about 25 rupees are now quite expensive. That's 25p for a little cup of tea. It's really heavy and thick. But in the past, you just would have gone into something that was not as developed. So there's a massive change in even the last 4 years of the types of places. Things that used to exist in the past don't exist today. It's a lot more modern. It's a lot more cleaner. It's a lot. You don't tend to, you've got really, marble lined bathrooms all over the place. It's very, very nice. So you don't tend to get anything as rotty as you might, or not as developed as you was in the past.
Oh, they're still there if you look.
Yeah, if you look. But it's so I think that's one of the things for the new travellers. A lot of people might go now. They won't see the things that you saw in the past.
Yeah, that is true. The roadside dabbas are few and far between, but they're still there as well. But not so in South India anyway. I'm more familiar with South India.
Oh, I'm more the north. So
are you?
So it's normally the Punjab, Haryana, this side going up to Jammu and Kashmir. So that's more more area where I tend to stay more.
Mm.
So it's like massive change. But so if someone was going now, I mean, and if you're doing a trip and you went and saw these new things, how do you think the you today would have would just sort of like converse or try to explain to the you of yesterday how things are going to change?
It's my bloody show, Gwen.
Oh, sorry,
I
mate.
do joking, mate. No. It's a great question. I'm just joking. You know me. You know me.
I think the biggest shock for me when I went back to India on a bike after 23 years, last year, was everybody's on mobile phones now. And on, when they're riding bikes and everything, why stop your conversation if you can wedge your phone between your shoulder and your cheek and carry on? So that's the biggest thing I've noticed, was that. I need to get my charger. Can you, I might have to move to the other room, actually. I won't be long. I will stay with you. Sorry, talk amongst yourselves.
Go on, Quinn. You've always got something to say.
All right. So for the drink today, I'm having, let me see if I get this. I'm having a South American tea. It's called a yerba mate. So you put your tea inside and you have a little straw with a filter on it. So as the herbs inside, you keep pouring it with your, of course, have your thermos. Keep putting your hot water inside and keep drinking your tea away. What's everyone else drinking?
Oh, lovely. That's all right. Well, I'm drinking Thatcher's Haze again, left over from Christmas. So just trying to use them up. Dry January. I'm dry most of the year anyway, so not worth it.
I should be heading for a glass of red wine as soon as we've finished.
Yeah, we're pretty much. I think we'll start wrapping up now anyway, because it's been an hour and 10.
Can you hear the wind? I've moved into the room where the wind is back.
Can a little bit. Yeah, windows wobbling around a little bit or something. Yeah.
Oh gosh, don't say
that. I'm sure you'll be fine.
Can I just mention to Jacqui? I think we have a mutual friend in the form of Jana Fox. Do you know Jana?
Oh yes, very well. John Nichols, yes.
He
very
said
good
to
friend.
Ask you about his homemade soup. Now I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing.
Oh, he does make a good soup. Yes.
It's good, is it?
He looks after me very well. Yeah, right. I've stayed with him and Catherine a couple of times, and they look after me very well. Okay. Very, very hospitable. The first place I wanted to go when we were allowed to get going again was Ireland. I love traveling in Ireland.
Right. When you were allowed to get going again, what do you mean?
After lockdown.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Don't even like to say the word. I hated it.
No.
Right. Are there any more questions? If you said
I was going to say, is there any more questions? You have to wait for a minute, Quinn. Is there anyone in the side chat that wants to ask a question? Quinn, fire away, mate.
All right. It was actually when you come back and for your kids. How do you think your kids saw you when you left and saw when you came back? Because you did speak in the book, and he said, "Well, what would you learn from your trip?" So you do explain some of that. So read the book. But do you think now, after having some time, you'd give the same answer? I mean, you've been quite a few years and you've travelled a bit more. Would you perhaps give the same answer, or what would you say that you learned from your trip now?
The same as I did then. And I won't spoil the book for those who haven't read it yet. But yes, it was overwhelmingly obvious to me what I learned about the trip. Apart from my confidence had grown immensely because when I left, I felt a complete failure. But when I came back, I thought, well, I can ride a motorbike. But you'd have to ask them. Really, I don't know what they think. You'd be better asking them. Really, should you ever come across them.
And the last question I'm going to ask is the same one that I ask all RTWs, is that knowing everything you have now, with hindsight, if you were to go back and plan your trip again, would it be places, would you go to, number one, to the same places? Number two, anything that you regretted missing? And the last one, any places where you spent time that you wish you'd spent more time, or places where you spent loads of time you wish you spent less?
No. Do you know what? I wouldn't change a thing, because even the horrible times, and there were a couple, perhaps I wouldn't. Perhaps I would go for my gut feeling more. I wish I had listened to my gut feeling more. When things started to go wrong, I wish I had thought, oh, I've done this before and it didn't have a good ending before. Why am I doing it again? So yeah, I would be perhaps a little bit more wise and think a bit more, rather than going. I do go headlong into things, and I still do. You know, if somebody says, "Oh, do you want to go to Turkey next year?" I'll go, "Yeah." And so yes, but that's the way I am, I'm afraid, and I don't plan much. I just wait and see what happens most of the
That's
time.
the way it should be. Yeah, no point making plans, because it will change anyway, one way or another. In many cases. Right. Okay. I'll start to, finishing
Thank
off
you,
now.
the
So,
old man. Whoever the
you're
old
welcome.
man is. Thank you.
All right. Yeah. Yeah, it's been a lot of people that have said some really nice stuff in the comments, actually. So,
Yes. Oh, thank you very
looks like
much,
they've
everybody.
really enjoyed it. So,
yeah, and of course, Sam Manicom is a son of Exeter. I think.
Yes.
I think he's a very busy man, of course.
I'd really like to get him on, actually.
He'd be very
I must get in
entertaining.
contact with him.
Yeah. Who else do you have on your show? Is it always long distance travellers, or who else?
It's a mixture.
Yeah, we had
Total
Nathan
mixture of
Millwood
all
on.
sorts, really. Sorry,
We had
Adam?
Nathan Millwood on a few months ago.
Yeah, Nathan
We tried
Millwood.
getting him.
Nathan was on, was
Yeah.
he?
Yeah.
I live in
Oh,
the same village as Nathan.
such a lovely
I
chap.
can probably shout out my window and Nathan can hear me.
We had Bruce Smart on as well. He came
Oh,
on
Bruce.
at one point.
Yes.
I think that's about it, really, for the the well-known travellers.
There you go. I've got my Sam Mannequin hat, if you actually want to go.
So you
Oh
have.
wow!
There you go.
Makes you invisible as well, does it? That's clever.
Who needs a Venus helmet?
So, yeah. Jacqui, it's been an absolute honour having you
Yeah,
on.
it's been an
I feel
honour.
so lucky.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for having me along. It's been such good fun. Thank you.
It's been really
Brilliant.
good. So thank you very much for coming along. Thanks to
And
everyone.
I will see you at the Nailsy Bike Show.
Oh yes, don't forget the Nailsy Bike Show. Hang on, my
Yes.
my diary's here.
Nailsy
I can give you
International
dates.
Bike Show.
Nailsy
When is it?
International Bike Show. Just a minute, I've got my diary here. I wrote it down.
We're going to have to go up and see Jacqui, aren't we, lads? Get a
Oh,
photo.
I've not
Group
got it
ride out.
yet, sorry.
Yeah.
But it's September. Usually September. I'll let you know, Steve, so that you can
Yeah.
tell everyone.
No worries. Thanks, Adam, Saddlebags, Western Super Motor Vlog, and Quinn for coming along, and everybody in the side chat. It's been really busy in the side chat tonight. It's been hard to keep up with it. So, I flagged up a lot of them. So, is there anything I need to say? Check out Jacqui's book, which is this one here, Hit the Road Jack. 7 years in 20 countries with no plan. That's the way to do an adventure, isn't it? So check that out on Amazon. If you're listening on the podcast, then we have been showing some photos during the show. So do tune back in to look at the photos. All right.
Steve, can I just say one more thing before I go?
Course. Absolutely.
My dear old bike is going to be on display at the Morton Hampstead Motor Museum. Yeah, that's where it's going to be most of the time now, on loan. So if you want to go and see it, that's where it will be shortly, probably next month.
Brilliant. I often pass there, actually, don't we?
Yeah, I've been past hundreds of times, never stopped there, so now I've got extra reason to.
Definitely.
Say
and we'll get a photo and send it to you with us next to it. With our finger on the tank.
Thank you.
That's right. No, thanks very much, everyone. Thanks to everyone inside chat, and we'll do another live at some point. And yeah, brilliant show. Everybody on the on here. Just stay on here for a minute, and we'll see you next week. I'll see you 5 o'clock on Sunday. Thanks, everyone. Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye.